I just screamed out for help. And finally, her nurse came in.
I know this part of the podcast was really hard for most of our listeners to listen to. Trust me, I know it was hard for me to listen to while I was editing it. But the reason I wanted to share this with you, one of the injuries found on Amelia was fractured ribs. We already know that she's been diagnosed with demineralization of her bones and osteopenia. So that means that something that wouldn't normally break a bone could break a bone for her. And the rib fractures are posterior rib fractures. I'm no doctor, but I'm pretty sure that means they came from behind, not in front. And they also were dated to this time when she was in the NICU. So I wanted to share this story from Diana about something that happened in the NICU that to me makes all the sense in the world on why she has rib fractures.
She would throw up a lot. She threw up a lot in NICU too with her tube feedings. She choked in NICU on one of her tube feedings. And thank God I was present for it. They would go in and they'd give her tube feeding. And then towards like the middle of her feeding, they would give her polyvisol, which I don't know if you know what polyvisol is. It
Yeah.
stinks. Like, there's no one in this world that's going to like the taste of polyvisol. So normally they would do a pretty good job of mixing it in with her milk so she didn't taste it. I was over pumping in the corner of the room, and I watched the nurse run in and say, "I'm giving her vitamins." I said, "Okay." And I, see her put it in her tube, and my baby girl swaddled on her back. I'm just pumping in the corner, and then out of the corner of my eye, I just see an abnormal movement. Like as a mom, you just have that sixth sense, that tuition, and I'm like, what? Why is she moving like that? And so I stopped pumping. I went over there to check on her, and sure enough, her face is purple, and there's a teeny tiny little dribble of brown coming out of her mouth. I'm looking at her monitors because normally those NICU monitors are so delicate and they beep over anything. And I'm like looking at it, I'm waiting for the alarms to sound, I'm waiting for something to happen, waiting for a team of nurses to rush in. Nothing happens. And I instantly just grab my baby, unswaddle her, flip her over, support her neck and her head, and I start patting her back. And I'm still waiting for someone to come in. I turn her over. She's still purple. She's not breathing. She's like flailing, like her body is jerking. I can't tell you what the numbers were, but I know like green is good, yellow is not good, red is really bad. I know I look at her vitals and it's red and yellows. Still, no one is in the room. I just screamed out for help. And finally, her nurse came in and I said, "She's choking, she's choking." Her nurse comes to my left in front of her and tells me, "Keep stimulating her back, keep stimulating her back." She starts giving her oxygen, and the charge nurse rushes in to my right. There's nurses all behind me. She starts suctioning out her mouth. Everyone's instructing me to continue stimulating her back, and I'm just watching her vitals drop and her body just jerk because she can't breathe. I just feel her little body just go limp in my hand. She's stopped moving altogether. I just screamed out again, "Please, dear God, just save my baby." And that's when they told me to lay her down. And I laid her down and I watched her shift nurse rip open the bag manual ventilator, like you see in the movies where they rip open a bag and they start pumping
Mhm.
her with oxygen. And I back away and everyone surrounds her little incubator, and they keep pushing her to the side, suctioning, turning her over, bagging her, and they keep doing that for I don't know how long. All I notice is that she wasn't purple or red anymore. She was just gray. And then I finally heard them say, "She's throwing up. She's throwing up." I never heard her cry. And then her oxygen started slowly going up. I can't tell you how long incident lasted, it felt like forever. The shift nurse came over and hugged me so many times, just saying, I'm so glad you were in the room. And at that point, as a mom, you're just so grateful your baby's breathing again. Like, I didn't even think, like, what did that just do to my baby? And until all this happened, I didn't even think twice about it. First off, it was so traumatic. For me personally, I had a really hard time going back into that room after that. I hate to admit it because it made me feel so bad because no one should ever feel their baby go lifeless in their hand. And when that happened, it was pretty traumatic for me. She was only 22 days old at that point. It happened on 7/24. Like, I'll never forget it. It's like burned in my mind.